Astros podcast, your home for all things Astros. With your hosts, sports writer Jeff Balke and Astros broadcaster and former third baseman Jeff Blum. Now, here's Balke and Blummer.
What's up, H-Town? Welcome to episode 17 and a half of the Believe in Astros podcast on Believe Podcasting Network. I'm Jeff Balke. My partner, of course, Jeff Blum. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and, of course, YouTube, where you can see our bright, sunny faces. And apparently Blum's brand new division winner cap, which is super styling. Gotta dig that.
They do a good job. The Astros hooked us up.
I've got my obsession with hats, so that's got to be next on the list.
Yesterday was actually, other than the game was terrible, but it was actually a good day for me because I showed up. I have a Western Division, the West is Ours t-shirt, and then the Astros hooked me up with this division-winning hat, and then I found the Astrodome bobble with the roof that comes off. Yeah, so I was super stoked to be able to find that. Yeah.
Where did you get that?
They gave them away a while ago, but I had left mine at the booth and I found it.
Oh,
so score!
Super jealous. My latest is it's back there. You can see the Lance McCullers.
Oh yeah, dude, that one's rad.
Space bobble with his dogs, which ironically kind of look like my three dogs. Weirdly,
oh wow,
with the space helmets on, so it's nice. Obviously, guys, give us a follow. At Believe in Astros, BLEAVIN Astros, and I'm at Jeff Balke, and Blummer's at Blummer27. Send us all your thoughts and everything. We're going to try to do some mailbag stuff every week as you send us questions, so be sure to do that. And obviously, hit subscribe and like everywhere, and give us good ratings because we are actually trying our best. I was going to say we're really good at this.
Let's just say we're good.
But I was just going to be, let's be honest. All right, so just to quickly start, we've seen a couple of iffy outings from Framber Valdez. Are we worried about this at all as we close in on the postseason, or how should we feel about this?
Well, I'm going to discount the Baltimore series just because Baltimore was whack. That was a sideways insane series. Just both offensively. Eventually the offense showed up and battled and won a couple of games. But you saw some shaky outings from the bullpen. Montero and Neris, they had some iffy outings. But I just give credit to the Baltimore Orioles for playing great baseball for that week. But at the same time, Framber Valdez had that consecutive quality start streak snapped in Baltimore. They racked up 11 hits on him. The only thing that I'm not concerned, but if my ears were kind of perked a little bit or I was kind of looking sideways at some of the numbers, it would be the amount of hits in the last two games against him, I think, are totaling up to 20 now. And I think the way the ball has been hit, because you'll hear a lot of guys, they may be pitching a great line, have 6 innings of 2 earned runs, but the exit velocities are very concerning. And that's where I think in that start that we just saw with Framber, the way the ball was coming off the bat from Tampa Bay, who is a very light-hitting team for a playoff team, was hitting the ball extremely hard against him. That was the only thing that I kind of saw where I was like, maybe he's just leaving some pitches out over the plate because he's not as focused. But again, I'm not as concerned because Framber has the stuff. It's just a matter of him locking it down and making it happen.
That seems like the way it is with a lot of pitchers. It's like it would be one thing you'd worry about a guy who's been kind of getting through maybe without the best stuff, but Framber's one of those guys with elite stuff, and those are the guys usually that have the ability to turn it around. But it'll be interesting to watch. I wanted to talk a little bit about odds. I did a little bit of research to find out what the preseason odds were. And I found there were two things I found really interesting. First of all, the Astros preseason win total was 91.5. I wish I would have known that because I would have definitely gotten in on the over of that one. Not that I gamble, but, for all intents and purposes. But the other one is how highly ranked the Blue Jays were. Almost everybody I saw in the rankings were calling for the Blue Jays to be one of the best teams in baseball. A lot of them were saying that they were their World Series pick for a lot of people. So there's a couple of surprising things. The other thing, too, is that with very few exceptions, even though the Astros were number 2 in the odds to reach the World Series, with very few exceptions did I see anyone picking them as a World Series team early on. I just wonder, in the preseason, do players really even think about odds or what? I mean, do they even read newspapers? Like, do they care at all about any of this stuff? I know some guys probably do, but like, what is the general thing with stuff like that?
So this is where I think the generation of ball player changes a little bit, because the tail end of my career was, when social media was starting to take off, the 2010s when Twitter starts, coming into play, and Facebook was already there. But, when you start to see Twitter and the instantaneous news, the ability to bet online on an app on your phone, we didn't have that kind of stuff. And we didn't pay attention to it, to be honest with you. You had, Baseball Prospectus, you had Baseball America, you had Fangraphs, but you kind of looked at it and you were like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Where do they come up with this stuff? We're just going to go play baseball and go win. But I think nowadays, those guys might actually see it. They might pay attention to it a little bit, because somebody's going to tweet it at them or tag them in a photo and say, these are the odds. And, because it's good banter for us to be able to have something to talk about and something to compare the end of the season to the preseason and say who was right, who wasn't, how do they overachieve, stuff like that. So I don't know if they do pay too much attention to it, but I think that if I were in that Astros locker room and we already knew we were good, because when they have their spring training meetings, it's not like, the Oakland A's or the Seattle Mariners were like, man, we got to find a way to compete. The Astros show up and they say, okay, we're going to win the West. After we win the West, we're going to go through the Division Series, Championship Series, and go to the World Series. That's their intent. And that's where I think the Astros maybe said, we have a chance. Halfway through the season, after they beat the New York Yankees, they probably went, we got a real good chance. And I think now at the end of the season, understanding how good they are and what the record is and how they've beaten teams, they're probably thinking that they've got a very, very good chance, like you and I do.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the case. One thing that has come into play for a lot of people that I've heard people talk about a lot is the fantasy sports element. That wasn't there back. I don't really play fantasy sports that much. I have a couple of times, but I've got to think that seeps in a little, because these guys do play fantasy football with one another, as we learned. As we learned earlier this year in the near fight that occurred over a trade a year ago. But it's interesting to me that these things are now, because a lot of, like you said, it's a different generation. These guys are in social media. They are active digitally. They do see these things going on. I've got to believe for some of them, I don't necessarily think it affects them psychologically. Guys that make it to the major leagues, they're tough enough mentally that they can handle that kind of stuff. But it is interesting to me that you've got guys, sitting around chatting about their fantasy scores. I mean, well, hell, even the like when the NBA and MLB and like Madden football comes out, they're like, "What's my score?"
Rankings.
No, it's my ranking. It's really kind of funny, because that's stuff I'm sure you never had to deal with, and it's just adds another layer to the really bizarre and complex world of social media.
No, it's hilarious. Yeah, when you first got called up, you just wanted a baseball card, and then by the end of my career, you wanted to actually be on the roster that was on the video game. And now it's, am I on the Legends team, or, what is my historic player look like? But I'm sure that these guys look at their ratings, what is my curveball rating out on, EA Sports or whatever it is. But it's definitely changed a little bit, but still the same idea. You just want to be recognized for how well you play.
What do you look like in the legs?
What
does your character? You don't know? Okay.
Oh, no. People send me screenshots every once in a while, but I just hope that it's an Adonis type figure that I never was.
Well, let me tell you this: there will be research before next week. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what Jeff Blum legacy character looks like, because this has absolutely got to be a part of this. So we've got the AL clinched, wrapped up, 5 games left. I don't think they're. Looks like now they're not going to hit their best record ever, which is fine. What do they do at this point? Like, how do they treat these final 5 games? I mean, are they going to give guys a bunch of days off? Or how would you do it if you were managing this team?
If I was managing this team, I would definitely have a schedule for the next 5 days, and I would let these guys know exactly what they're doing. I know that's a little bit different for Dusty because we've heard reports that he's going to play his horses for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And he wants to go out and win as many games as he possibly can. I understand that as a manager, but at the same time, what is the end goal right here? The end goal is to make sure that you're 100% healthy, active, ready, and going into the postseason with a full head of steam. And I think the way that you do that is you pull these guys individually, like an Alex Bregman. What numbers do you want to get to? How many games do you think that's going to be able to, or you're going to need to get to the point? And then you say, how about we give you a day off in the Tampa series, a day off in the Philly series, and then we just give you those 5 days to make sure that you're right for the playoffs. We can do that, Skip. That's great. Jose, you want to get to 30 home runs? Let's do this, and we'll give you a day off in the Philly series. That's how the conversation has to go, because it has to be part manager, part training staff, and then it has to be a lot of player in there that has to be involved because, like you said, playoff clinch, yep. AL West, yep. Best record in the American League, home field advantage, yep. Okay, now what do we need to do? Then it becomes a little more individual, and I think it's good to be greedy like that because, you're going to get paid based on numbers, and you're going to develop a legacy, and you're going to develop the back of your baseball card on what you do through the regular season. And if you actually achieve those goals, think about the confidence it's going to give these guys going into the postseason, knowing that Jose Altuve has 30 bombs and, sets the American League record for leadoff home runs with 13. I mean, that would be phenomenal for him to be able to go out there and claim. But at the same time, you've got to be very careful and watch these guys because we saw Yordan take a swing and everybody in Houston took a collective gasp. And we don't need those gasps anymore.
No.
We need to make sure that they're 100% raring to go and fired up.
Never mind the players, the fans don't need it. Like,
oh
we
man,
don't want to.
Yeah, when the color guy falls out of his chair, it's not a good thing.
You don't want to go into the offseason injured.
Oh!
You don't want to go in with like a torn rotator cuff because you tried to hold yourself up. Like that's not how you play golf in the offseason.
No,
you can't have that.
You want in-season injuries, not off-season ending injuries. We always said that.
That's exactly right. So last thing, the Rays still have something to play for. Obviously, there's still some. I mean, it looks pretty much clear now that Toronto is going to end up being the number 4. But it's between Seattle and it's a difference, right? Because whoever flip-flops in that position, it's the difference between playing the Guardians and the Blue Jays. Very different types of ball clubs. So the Rays are obviously going to be trying to win everything. The Phillies are out there. They're still trying to win. So, it wouldn't be a shocker if the Astros went out there and just, kind of laid an egg over the last 5 games. I mean, given the fact that they've clinched in the others, but that doesn't really feel like the Astros to me. Like doesn't feel like a team that's just kind of like, eh. Now maybe they might not run as hard down first base. Nobody wants to pull a hamstring or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I get the feeling this is a team that just has a lot of pride about playing these games, and they don't really want. They're not going to go out there and make themselves look silly. They're going to, if they lose, who cares? It's not going to be a big deal. But I don't think they're going to go out there and be like, let's just let these guys roll because there's some personal pride on the line here.
Yeah, and nobody likes to get pushed around, and they also know that they have a little bit of a reputation to uphold too. And I think that these guys, like I said, don't want to get pushed around. They'll get pushed and they'll be like, you know what? Okay, we're done with this. And then they'll start to push back like we saw in that Baltimore series.
Yeah, agreed.
But it's really interesting the way it's shaken out because, like you're right, the New York Yankees, as it stands today, would play either Tampa Bay or the Guardians. Mm-hmm. And is that an easier matchup than the Jays and Mariners, who the Astros would have to end up facing? So
I don't know. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be really tough, but I also wish that they would reseed after this wild card round and allow the better record to play the lesser record, if you know what I'm saying.
100%. I cannot stand – it's the same thing in the NBA. This idea of the division winners get the benefit of seeding just because they won the division. It's just silly. Yeah. What if you're in a terrible division, right? I mean, it doesn't, that's part of the deal. So to me, like the Astros are in a terrible division, but, the Mariners are good, but they're basically.
They maximized it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. They won. They won lots of games. It's not like you basically just eclipsed 500 and won your division, so now you get the advantage. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think reseeding is the smartest thing to do. I think they should reseed after every round, frankly. I think that way you keep it, the best teams with the best records are the ones that wait until the very end to face each other. And that is, to me, that's best for, never mind for the integrity of the game. It's great for watching. Because when you got legitimately at the end, if you've got, okay, these guys have the 2 best records in baseball, and they're facing off in the World Series or even in the championship series, that's a big deal, I think, for most fans. All right, Blummer, any final thoughts? I mean, you've only got 5 games left. Forget about the Astros; they're going to the postseason, but you've got 5 games and then the offseason, man.
Yeah, well, truth be told, I've got the off day today that we're recording this. It's going to be a national game, so
that's right.
Yeah, there's going to be some upset fans. But you'll have us the rest of the way. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You'll have us to finish off the season. But it is always a little concerning. And if you were at the ball game yesterday, they put up, they play. I've got friends in low places, and they put me on the big screen. And I pointed to my watch, and I said, 4 more games, and I will be in the stands chugging a beer. So there are some, there is a silver lining to not working the postseason, that I get to be a fan, and I get to chug a couple of beers with everybody out there and be in that lower bowl enjoying playoffs.
Don't have to review a bunch of stats every day. Don't have to do show prep. You can just get out there and watch the game.
But if you're like me and most fans, you're still looking at numbers. You're still calculating what's going on in your head, trying to predict and anticipate. So it's just going to be with maybe a little bit of liquid courage mixed in there.
Now that I 100% understand. All right, Blummer, thanks so much. Guys, everybody, thanks for watching and listening. Give us a follow. Obviously, hit subscribe on YouTube. And send us some questions. And as we get ready for the postseason, there's a lot going on. So let us know what you're thinking. Thanks a bunch, and we will talk to you next time. Go Astros.